Welcome back. Did you see that weird spiral of light in the sky over Minnesota Tuesday night? Well, videos started popping up online around 10 o'clock that night from across the central part of the country asking if it was the Perseids meteor shower or a UFO. Well, we now know that it came from a rocket launched from South America. Astronomer Jonathan McDowell says it happened as the rocket released hydrogen and oxygen fuel that instantly turned into ice and then reflected sunlight back down from that high altitude. Pretty cool. When you think of enduring television shows, big names like The Tonight Show, Jeopardy, The Simpsons likely come to mind, but don't count out a Minnesota contender who's hanging with the big dogs. Minnesota Bound just celebrated 30 years, and Rena Sargentopoulos sat down with the legendary Ron Schara and the rest of the gang to talk about the secret to their success.
Now, here's your host, Ron Schara.
Milestones have a way
I'm not sure I even comprehend it.
of knocking loose memories.
Yeah, it's a lot of emotions.
Ron Schara could not have imagined when he started the show 30 years ago that Minnesota Bound would become a Minnesota core memory.
I started to listen to original music score a week or so ago, and I got teared up because I remember when Dale Menton composed that music for the show. When I first heard it, I go, yeah, that's it. And it's survived the test of time.
And like a dog named Raven to a dinner bell, the viewers flocked to their TV screens when they heard that theme.
Hi, everybody. Raven and I welcome you to the show.
A weekly segment on KARE 11 turned half-hour show with one employee. Ron did all the writing, then eventually added a female voice.
I remember distinctly sitting in the weather office, and Ron Schara and Joe Harowitz, he was the photographer, walked in and literally said to me, "Do you know how to fish?" And I said, "Well, I grew up on the St. Croix, so I think I do." And that's how it began.
Belinda Jensen also knocking loose memories of her 10 years on the show.
We went to Hawaii to return a sea turtle to the Pacific that had lived at the Minnesota Zoo. And then we put it in the ocean. And I was there on the beach with these Hawaiians and these oceanographers and these turtle experts, and it was remarkable.
Ron's daughter Laura and former news reporter Bill Shirk came aboard some 20 years ago.
So now it's time for this big announcement.
Now the show's hosts after Ron retired.
It's an honor to carry on the legacy that he started. I don't take that for granted.
We've always said we put people to bed on Sunday nights, and we make them feel good about the world around them, and that's powerful.
Television shows come and go, but for some reason, this little outdoor darling has stayed.
I would watch these other outdoor TV shows, weren't many back then, fishing shows, a few hunting shows. I'd watch them, and I'd say, I can do better than that. We, as a species, love stories. And so we're not a fishing show. We're not just a hunting show. We tell stories about the people that cross our paths, about the places that we're at, and their stories. If I had to boil it all down, that's the success of Minnesota Bound and the success of Ron Schara Productions.
And that, friends, is the secret sauce. Stories about our friends and neighbors, stories that warm your heart. And you can't do that for 30 years and not have some of them stick.
We went out fishing. He picked up his rod, hooked a minnow on a very tiny 3/16 ounce jig. He cast out and he reeled in a bluegill and held it up to the camera and let it go. And he did it all with no hands or arms. He was born that way.
To catch lake trout and crappie and grayling and all the fish that I've caught, it's just pretty proud of that.
We went out with little Leo a few years ago. All he wanted was one last boat ride, and we got to give him his boat ride.
That's the happiest he's been for a while. He's really excited.
I spent the day with a ski joring gentleman who rescued a German short-hair pointer named Buddy off of Craigslist for $50.
Make sure that if it is, one of the last times, that it's a good time.
I was crying so much during the interview I could barely hold it together myself. And he said, Buddy rescued me. And it was just a really touching moment.
After 30 years, you'd think they had seen it all. But take comfort as you fall asleep on a Sunday night. Your bedtime stories are safe. Turns out, Minnesota may be boundless.
It's a legacy, right? There are few things that have lasted like Minnesota Bound. It's not going anywhere.
Great story, Rena. Great job. Hey, Ron Shera is going to be reminiscing with Belle on the Saturday morning show. I'll be there as well. This weekend starts at 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and you can watch the Minnesota Bound 30th anniversary special on Sunday night following our late news at 10:35. One more thing to get to, Valley Fair is setting up for spooky season. Theme park just released its lineup for the fall, including what's happening at the haunted haven known as Valley Scare. This season, there are 5 haunted maze experiences. There's Cryptid Land, Berserkers, Undertakers, Mr. Cleaver's Bloodshed, that would be my favorite, and the Chateau 7 Deadly Scares. Put a lot of creative energy in the naming this year. If that's not enough to raise your heart rate, you'll have 4 scare zones to walk through across the park as well. For a more wholesome experience though, Tricks and Treats also coming back. On Saturdays and Sundays, there will be festive, family-friendly events, live shows, costume contests, and of course, candy. Stick with us. We got more news, more weather coming up.